So welcome everyone to our second session on the October 13th edition of Black Professionals Month. We are excited to have you here with us as we come together to connect, collaborate, and build a trusted community of Black professionals worldwide that will allow us to be able to step up, stand out, and break through in the higher roles of leadership and also generating sustained wealth. All right, so if you are as fired up as we are, and you're going to do something about it, that's why you're here today. Part of doing something about it is, taking a role of leadership. Leadership starts with yourself and preparing yourself and equipping yourself to really be able to make a difference and to have an impact. So we are here today to hear from Dr. Des, otherwise known what a mama called it was Dr. Desiree Jonas. As a matter of fact, she probably had, the doctor in there even before she came out. We speak those things into existence. But she is Dr. Desiree Jonas Strickland, founder of Young Black and Professional, and we are extremely happy and proud to have her with us today. She is a Florida native who currently resides in Atlanta, Georgia, and she is a public health professional on the senior level with expertise in chronic disease prevention, childhood obesity prevention, health policy, and project management. She is also an adjunct professor who teaches courses in health disparities and minority health. Dr. Des has served as the hiring manager in different areas of her field since 2018. She has also managed a multitude of interns and public health professionals. She has always enjoyed managing and teaching interns and noticed the lack of professional development education students receive in their educational careers. By developing Young Black and Professional, Desiree hopes to continue to serve young Black professionals by offering insight into the professional world and assistance with how to navigate their world while being a young Black college graduate. Young Black and Professional has reached over 600 young professionals to assist them through trainings, online courses, and presentation designed to help them navigate their careers as young Black professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, the next voice that you're going to hear, my pleasure and honor to present to you, and also to introduce to some as I have, Dr. Des. It's all yours.
Thank you for that introduction. And as you were talking, I was thinking, one of the things that my mom always told me was that, my grandmother passed away when I was about 2 or 3, so never really got the chance to meet her, but she was saying how when she used to hold me, she would be like, look at her, she's gonna be so smart, look at her, she's gonna be a doctor. So they literally did, speak that into existence since I was born. So it came to pass. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And let me share my screen. So everyone should be able to see my screen now. So this is navigating your career as a young Black professional. And I am Dr. Des. You just gave me such a great introduction. So I founded Young Black and Professional, basically, of course, out of that need for having more educational, more professional development opportunities for younger people, because I noticed with having interns, a lot of them just were not prepared, from whether it's sending out a simple email, they were not prepared to do that, or, just kind of networking and connecting with others while they were at these internship opportunities. They would kind of sit to themselves, not really go out and venture out, and then wonder why they can't get jobs once it's time for them to get a job. So I started this organization out of that need. And, you can definitely check us out, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, check out our website. Everything is at Young Black and Professional. And then also the podcast was started this year. And basically the podcast grew out of a need to continue that connection with the younger generation. And podcasts, YouTube videos, all of that, of course, are very, very popular. But this podcast, we go into depth on a lot of things as far as your resume, as far as how to move up in your career, as far as networking, as far as all of those things, as well as I like to make sure I'm hosting guest speakers, because I always love for people to have someone's opinion other than my own, and know how they got to where they are now in life and how you can get there too. So that is one of the major focal points of the podcast. So we've had guest speakers who are hospital executives, who are in real estate, who are in insurance. So from a variety of professions, just kind of telling you their story and how they got to where they are. And you'll notice there are so many similarities in all of our stories with us being young Black and professionals. So we point that out as we go through, but check out the podcast, make sure you download that and check it out. So just to give you guys a little bit about my story, because my story is probably similar to a lot of people's story, and the reason why I started this organization, the reason why I continue to do what I do. So when I first graduated undergrad, I was not sure what I wanted to do, had no idea what I wanted to do. I always thought I was going to go to med school. That was my goal. That was the dream. That was what I told my mama. That's what that's what she told all her friends. I'm going to med school and that's it. But then I got to college and I took organic chemistry. I took physics. I cried. I got F's. I did not do well in those courses. You know, I barely got C's. I got the C's I needed to graduate. But I was like, man, if med school is going to be like this, I don't need to be there. That is not for me. But so I decided after I graduated, I did all the prereqs. So I decided to work for a little while. So I worked as a medical assistant and I was just like, you know, I'm not making money at all. And I was like, I can't live like this. I need to go back to school. So I did decide to go back to school. But even before then, I was applying to jobs, rejections after rejections after rejections. And I was wondering why, like, I can't get an interview. Like, I'm applying for these basic jobs. I feel like I'm qualified, but I'm just, I guess, not conveying that I am qualified. Even when I got to my master's program, I felt like, you know, I was applying for jobs after I was like 1 year or so into my master's. And I was like, okay, surely I got the skills now. Surely somebody want me now. But still, I was getting, you know, rejected still. So I was like, okay, let me approach this how I approach school. Let me do some research. Let me see what jobs are wanting, what they're looking for. Let me see, how do I research to do my resume? How do I research to network? How do I research to get into these spaces that I want to be in? So I did that and I started implementing different things. I started throwing different things at the wall. And before you know it, I got interviewed. So I got an interview. I remember that interview. I walked out of that interview knowing I didn't get the job because I knew I did terrible in the interview. I was like, man, okay, so I got my resume to get me here. I didn't think about what do I need to do in the interview stage. So I got in there. They were asking me all these great questions. And I just was like, I don't really know how to convey my experience. And I felt like I didn't have enough experience because I had been in school my whole life. However, I didn't think about the student organizations that I had been a part of where I hosted and planned various events on campus. You know, I didn't think about the internships, the externships that I have to do in school and pulling from that experience to talk about that in the interview and let them know that I'm more than qualified for this position. So I bombed that one. Now, moving forward, I felt like that was a great learning lesson for me in that. And in that, I was able to get another internship. So I got an internship and I did it at the Florida Department of Health. Now, this one, I was just like, okay, I'm about to throw out everything that I learned. I'm about to network. I'm about to talk to people. I'm not going to be in my office all day. I'm gonna do everything I need to do. Everything that I've looked up, I'm gonna do it. So I did it and I ended up getting a job from it. I got my first career starting job from doing all of those things. And I was like, wow, like I really approached this like school. I did the research, I implemented it, and man, okay, this is it. So I got the job and it was great. I got it basically through networking, through talking with people, through keeping up those relationships that I had. And then, you know, I was in grad school. I got the job right before I graduated. So about a couple months before I was graduating grad school. So I got that job. Then right after grad school, I went into my doctorate program. So I did that while I was working full time and I ended up getting promoted too. While I was working full time, doing grad school full time. So I got promoted and then I was able to, from that starting point, able to triple my salary over the course of 3 years. And, you know, that's the thing that I like to tell people, like, you don't have to be stuck at earning $30,000 a year. You do not. That is a starting point, of course, but don't let that just be your end goal. And, you know, I want to make sure that I'm teaching you everything that I know and to how to get to there and how to make it out of wherever you want to be out of or make it wherever you want to be. So that's kind of, you know, some of the things that I've learned. And I was able to take this experience and turn it into Young, Black, and Professional and basically share with you guys the things that I wish I would have known going through college, going through post-graduation and everything. So one of the things that I always tell myself is to never forget why you started. So the why is so important. Why you do the things that you do, why you're continuing to wake up and go to work every morning, why you are continuing to, whether it's going to work, whether it's having your business, whether it's, spending time with your family, whatever it is, don't forget that why. Your why may be because of my family, because I want to put my family in a better position, because I want to build generational wealth, because whatever it may be. But don't forget that why. I like to tell people to, if you have a certain goal, you have goals, you have objectives for your life, print them out and post them somewhere where you can see them every day. One of the things that I like to do, I like to post like a inspirational quote or, some kind of motivational thing on the background of my phone screen, because I see it every day and I'm just like, okay, I'm reminded, keep going, Desiree, keep going. All right. So don't forget why you started. So the question I want to ask, and you don't have to answer, you can type it in the chat, whatever you want to do. What areas do you feel the most nervous about when it comes to your career? So every time I ask this question, I get a lot of different responses. Now, whether the responses are, I don't know what to do, I'm submitting my resume all the time, can't get a job interview. Or, I'm in a job, my job's cool, but I need more money. I need to move up. I don't know how to negotiate my salary. I don't know how to go to that next level in my career. Or, it may be, I get the interviews, I'm great, I get all the interviews, but for some reason, they are not calling me back and telling me I got the job. I'm tired of rejections. So no matter what area it may be, if any of those areas resonated with you, no matter what area it may be in your career, you're in the right place right now, whether it's in this training and entire Black Professionals Month as a whole. I feel like this organization, this event has been amazing and just kind of helping us to transform the way we think. And just knowing about all the great resources that are out there that can help us to build and to become better in our careers as well as in our personal life. So some of the things that we're going to talk about today is overcoming imposter syndrome, then also your actual career strategy, and then moving up in your career. So these are three kind of important things that I feel like, as navigating your career as a young Black professional, that you're gonna probably touch and deal with. And then also you're gonna wanna do, because you're gonna wanna move up. Like, I think that, our generation, we definitely always want to move up, and we want to get better, we want to grow, we want to learn, and we want to, of course, make money, So you want to make sure that you are doing the things that you need to do. And hopefully, this presentation can give you that and can give you a little more insight and can spark a little bit more in you to make you to help you get to that next level. So imposter syndrome. Now, I know a lot of people have heard of it. A lot of people may have kind of heard of it, but the technical definition, a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments, and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Basically, you feel like you're not good enough. So, and that's kind of just it in a nutshell. You feel like you're not good enough. You may be in a conference room, and I've definitely dealt with this as being the youngest person in a conference room, just feeling like, oh my gosh, all these people are older than me. They're so experienced. They're talking about all these things, and I'm not completely sure what they're talking about. I feel like I don't belong here. I feel like, I'm not ready for this. I don't know why they picked me for this position. I don't know. And I feel like so many people have felt this way. So, and in, my journey kind of dealing with that, I learned that there were so many different types of imposter syndrome. And with those different types, I feel like I've experienced more than one type. So just kind of a brief overview of the different types. So you have the soloist, which you feel like if you ask for help with something, you may be revealed as a phony or a fake. So if you ask for help with anything, and I've had an employee that was like this. She was an amazing employee. However, she always felt the need. She didn't like to ask questions at all. She felt like she could do it all on her own. She was very competent. She was great. However, I had to have that conversation with her because she would submit work. However, it wouldn't be exactly in alignment with what we needed. And, and that was like a constant thing with her because she would not ask for help because she'll be like, oh, I didn't want to bother you. I didn't want to. I feel like I should know this stuff. And I'm like, no, it's a learning curve with any new job. It's a learning curve and it's okay to ask questions. So, I feel like that resonates with a lot of people because some people just do not like asking questions. So then you have the perfectionist. So a lot of times the perfectionist is just what it sounds like. You want to be perfect. You set these amazingly high expectations for yourself. And if you don't meet them, you feel like the world is ended. You feel like if you did not give 100% to whatever you're doing, then the world is over. And I'm gonna tell y'all, it's not. It's not. The world keeps spinning. It does. Whether you do it right or you do it wrong, the world keeps spinning. And there's always another opportunity to get it right the next time. And then you also have the superwoman / superman, which basically you feel like you're a phony. So a little bit of, kind of all of them. You feel like you're a phony and you're amongst all the people who are really doing it, who are really out here and they're just doing it and doing it right. And you feel like the phony. So you may overcompensate by doing more work. You may overcompensate by staying very, very late at work to get things done. You may feel like you have to do this because you're so behind or you're whatever, and you just want to make sure that you're staying on the same level as everyone else, but you kind of maybe made this level up in your head that they're on, that you're not on. So, and then you also have the natural genius. Now, this one, I feel like when I talk to recent graduates, especially first generation college graduates, this one kind of resonates a lot. Especially it resonated with me because you may be used to getting straight A's in high school. You may be used to not having to work really hard for a grade or not having to work really hard in a certain setting. It just kind of came to you. It was natural. And then you had your parents like, oh, my baby's so smart. My baby in college telling all their friends. And it's great, to have that energy around you. However, it can be pressure because if like I went to college, I was used to in high school getting amazing grades and not having to work for it. Then I got to college, I got to Florida State, and I got my first C on a test. My world was over. My world basically felt like it ended. I was like, I'm a fraud. I don't need to be here. Like, what is going on? And then, I got a D in one of my chemistry class, and I was like, oh my God, like, I can't do this. And then, I was trying to overcompensate, put in so much work, and it's still, I'm just barely making it. So that type of imposter syndrome is there and it's real. And then you got the expert. This is basically people who measure their competence based on what they know or what they can do. So they always feel like they have to know everything, or they have to always seek trainings, always seek certifications, always seek whatever it is. And this can honestly be a form of procrastination, because a lot of times if you sit there and you say like, okay, well, I need to get this project management certification. All right, I got this certification. Okay, I think I need to be more competent in this. So I'm gonna take this training. I'm gonna take this class. I'm gonna take this course. It could be it. And really, honestly, at the end of the day, you may not need it. You probably don't need it. It's probably just delaying you from actually starting. So in that, it's a lot of types of imposter syndrome that a lot of people face. And I feel like, this may have resonated with some of you on this presentation, or, it may resonate with somebody that because 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their career. And honestly, I feel like this number is a little low because, I feel like everybody has experienced a little bit of self-doubt, a little bit of that anxiousness, that anxiety, like, okay, am I doing this right? Should I be here? Should I be doing this right now? But just know that you just are not alone in this feeling. Everybody feels it at some point. So even the people who I have here as example, Maya Angelou and Michelle Obama have admitted to experiencing imposter syndrome. So after Maya Angelou published her 11th book, she wrote another one. And every time she writes another one, she thinks to herself, they're gonna find me out that I run game on everybody. That was literally a direct quote from her. And you're thinking like, she's way up on this level. She's published all these books. We know her name. She is a household name at this point, but she feels like she's an imposter. Like, we're quoting her and everything. And then Michelle Obama, she wrote about, as a young woman, she used to lie awake at night and think, am I too loud, too much? Am I dreaming too big? And then she said eventually she got tired of thinking about what everybody else thought about her and said she just decided not to listen anymore. So knowing that these people go through this, Albert Einstein went through imposter syndrome, and these people have talked about it, but we always talk about their accomplishments and not necessarily their feelings and their doubts and different things like that can actually help us because we're experiencing those same things. So number one, of course, owning and knowing who you are, and just kind of accepting that. Number two, owning who you are. So I always tell people I like to make lists. I'm a list person. So make a list of at least 5 things that show you are just as qualified as anything else, as anyone else. Now, these could be like, I graduated from college, I got my 4-year degree, I got my graduate school degree, or it can be like, I'm really good at comprehending, I'm really good at making goals, making objectives, and these are things, honestly, when I got in the workforce, I thought that everybody would be good at everything. I work with some people who've been in jobs for 20, 30 years, and they're kind of just there. They're just there, and they're not, they're not striving to not necessarily get better, but they're just kind of there for the paycheck, and they're there for retirement. And, it's not to say that you're better than them, but it's to say that you have an opportunity to get to their level and to surpass their level. So you are as qualified as anybody else. I learned that very fast when I got into the positions that I were in, that not everybody is competent in every area. And that's okay. You don't have to be great at everything. So be proud and own your accomplishments, whether you got to hang that degree behind you on the wall, or you got to, print out that certification, or you got to, write down those lists and keep them like on your cell phone or wherever. Write it down. Show yourself that you are worthy to be in this position, and they hired you for a reason. You're here for a reason. So then make a plan and visualize yourself achieving it. I always tell people, like, I like to make plans, make goals, and visualize yourself actually accomplishing it. Make sure you keep that in the back of your mind some type of way. And then number 3, checking your environment. Now, this is a problem, social media. That is a serious problem a lot of times that a lot of people face. And I feel like it perpetuates a lot of imposter syndrome. So this quote right here, this Instagram post, Instagram has ruined a whole generation's expectations of relationships, work, and everything in between. It has made perfect look normal. So now good has become disposable. And I feel like that is just so true on so many levels. Like, we only see highlight reels of people's lives and we think, man, why am I not at this point? Why am I 28, 29 and I'm not a millionaire yet? This person's a millionaire, they're doing all of this, and we compare ourselves so much, so often. And then a lot of times the first thing we do in the morning is we wake up and we scroll on Instagram, or we scroll on Facebook, we check our Facebook, and then we don't know that that's getting in our subconscious. And you may not think, oh, I'm not comparing myself to this person, but subconsciously it's in the back of your mind. So one of the things that I like to tell people to do is to take a social media break. I always do a social media fast at some point in the year. And basically that's just like a month or so, and just delete the apps off my phone, not look at my phone, and just kind of focus in on other things. And, it's something I do, and it's something that helps and works for me. Also, talking to a friend, having a mentor or a colleague to talk about this stuff with. Don't just keep these feelings inside of you. I want you to make sure that you are talking about them. So just moving on to your actual career strategy. So one of the things that I like to tell people, a part of your career strategy should be, of course, your resume, and then networking, then you're interviewing. You should have different strategies in these different areas to make sure that you are getting the most out of them. So when it comes to your resume, there are some basic things that I want you guys to make sure that you know about your resume. A lot of companies, I would say majority of companies, use applicant tracking software, or our applicant tracking system, ATS. And you want to make sure that your resume is ATS compatible. So basically what this software does, it feeds your resume into it, and they pretty much are going to give your resume a score for how well it aligns with the actual job description. So basically, when I was hiring manager, I would look at that. I would get the score of all the applicants, and then I would pick maybe the top 10 to actually look at their resume. And then I would look at their resume. Then from that, I would narrow it down to top 3 or 4 I want to actually interview. And, we would go from there. And it helps, especially like, I had a job where we would get like 100 or so applicants per job. And it helped. I didn't have time to sit there and go through all these other applicants because I still had a regular job. So in some ways, it's not fair because it does disqualify great candidates, but in some ways it helps the hiring manager, especially when you have a job where you may have 1,000 applicants per job. So you want to make sure that your resume is lining up with the actual keywords. You want to optimize the keywords in your resume. So taking that job description and actually looking at the job description and say, okay, what skills do I have that I can make sure I put on my resume? And you want to make sure you use some of that exact wording that's in that job description, because the ATS system will pick that up. And you want to make sure that your resume is formatted correctly. Now you can have it in Word, or you can have it in, I recommend people to have it in Adobe PDF. So have your resume saved as a PDF. It just looks more professional. It preserves your formatting, because a lot of times, sometimes with Microsoft Word, things can look a little funky, especially like if you're going from like a Windows computer to a Mac computer. It can get a little discombobulated in that kind of transition. So having it in a PDF format just kind of ensures that that formatting is going to be preserved. And then also avoiding columns on your resume. That's one of the things that's a big no-no, because the ATS system will read your resume from left to right. So left to right, left to right. Now, if you have like a column here and then another column here, it's still going to read it from left to right. So it's going to look crazy. So make sure that you have it, one long kind of, just in order like that. And then achievements versus actual assignments. Now, I've seen some people, and I reviewed some resumes where people have just literally taken their job description and pasted it into their resume. Don't do that. So you want to make sure that you actually are looking at, what did you achieve while you were at that job? Did you increase or, make a process more efficient by a certain amount of percentage? Did you increase the amount of grant funds that your organization got by a certain number? What were the specifics in your actual achievements that you did on that job? So 70% of applicants get disqualified by ATS without their resume even getting read. So you want to make sure this is a big deal. Then the actual interview. So remember, I told you guys, when I walked into that one interview, I just knew. I walked away and I was like, nah, they're not about to hire me. And they didn't call me back. And I knew after I left it that I did terrible on it, because I didn't, follow all of the research that I should have done. I didn't research the company. I didn't have a portfolio when I walked in. I didn't anticipate some of their questions and know how to answer them. One of the major questions that all companies ask is, tell me about yourself. You need to know how to answer that. That's something you need to practice. They're going to ask that at some point. Somebody's going to ask you to tell them about yourself. So I always tell people, no matter what profession you're in, have a portfolio. I'm in the public health world, and it's not as common to have a portfolio, but have one. It makes you look good when you have a portfolio. And it can just be a portfolio of some of the work that you've done. If you don't have much experience working, some of the things that you've done in school. Why not have it be a school project that directly relates to the actual job that you're trying to apply for, to show them, hey, I got these skills. I can do this. I've done it before. Let me put it in this portfolio. Let me show you, have a hard copy, have a digital copy. Some people even use their LinkedIn as their portfolio, because you can upload documents to your LinkedIn and link them with your actual job description. So it's various ways that you can do that. And, just have something to show that you've done this work, you can do this work, you're competent in doing this work. And you have so many examples out there. So make sure that you pull them. And then also, there are so many interview techniques that are out there. One I like to tell people about is the STAR interview technique. And basically it stands for situation, task, action, and result. So whenever you're answering a question, they ask you about, tell me a time when you faced a difficult situation. You want to tell them the situation. You want to tell them the task that you had to do because of that situation. You want to tell them the action of what you actually did. And then you want to wrap it all up with the result of what you did. And then, of course, after the interview, always do a follow-up. Always send a thank you email to whoever it may be. So, and then also networking, in-person conferences, virtual networking is huge now, and it's very complicated sometimes to navigate, but it's something that, you have to make sure that you are doing and that you are staying abreast on. You can go to Eventbrite and look up different events and conferences that are going on right now. One thing I'm very huge on is people having informational interviews. And that entails basically, you can go to LinkedIn right now, type up a name of somebody you're interested in, or type up a position that you're interested in. And you're going to get a list of people that are doing that position. Reach out to them professionally, because LinkedIn is a professional site. Reach out to them professionally and say, hey, I see that you are in this position. I'm interested in possibly pursuing this position or learning how you got to where you are. Do you mind taking about 15 to 20 minutes to talk with me and just kind of, give me some insight into how you got to your current position and things like that? And you never know what kind of relationships blossom after that, because I've definitely had people get jobs after just doing that, and make sure that you're staying in touch with these people. And then my last area that I want to go into is moving up in your career. Now, this is something that I feel like a lot of people are just kind of course, interested in, of course, but you don't really know, you don't really know when it's time to leave your current position. When should you be looking at other positions? And kind of what's that key? Like, how do I get to move up, whether it's getting a promotion or whether it's, moving to another organization? What's kind of that formula? So this is something that has worked for me, that has worked for a lot of other of my clients who I've worked with. Number one is networking. Don't just sit in your office and not talk to people, not get to know the people, even though you may hate everybody on your floor. Get to know them, talk with them. You ain't got to be fake, but you work with these people, and you want to make sure you have a positive working environment, because it's not only good for them and for moving up, but it's also good for your mental health to have a good working environment, or somewhat of a good environment, to have some type of relationship. So make sure that you're talking with these people, because these people are the people who can really talk you up. One, you're going to need recommendations for when you get a new job. You're going to need a reference letter, or you're going to need somebody to be able to call for a reference for you. So you want to make sure that you are networking and you're talking with people, because once they move to another company, they can talk you up to that other company too. So don't discount that. Then increasing your skills. If you're in a current job and you may say, okay, well, I'm not getting much out of this job, ask your supervisor if you can attend some trainings, get some certifications under your belt, whether it's a project management certification or whatever it may be. Go to some trainings where you can learn a lot of different skills that you can have in your next position, that your next position is going to look for. So you can say, I got those skills. Then knowing when to leave. I always tell people, I get asked the question quite frequently, how do I know when it's time to leave my job? I always tell people, if you are no longer learning and growing in your position, then it may be time for you to leave. If you're no longer growing or you're not getting anything out of it, you're dreading coming into work every day, it's time for you to leave. It's time for you to explore your other options. Either leave or talk with your supervisor, talk with your boss or whoever, and let them know, like, you feel this way. You're not being challenged, and you need to be somewhere where you want to be challenged. Now, you may be in your position. You may be like, nah, I like that. I know exactly what I'm doing. Nobody bothered me. I get it done. I'm good. And that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you want to make sure, now, if that's not you, then that's your sign that it's time for you to leave. You're not being challenged, you're not growing, you're not learning. And then add to that portfolio. So you should always have a portfolio. So I want you to make sure that while you're in your job, if you designed a program, if you coded something or did something huge, make sure you document that and keep that somewhere, so you can make sure when it's time to revise your resume, you can put that on your resume. And I want you to make sure that you are doing those things. So don't forget to add a little leverage as needed. So I tell people, I've had one position where I was about to leave before I got promoted. I was about to leave because I had other job interviews. I had, I think, 2 other job offers. And I went to my boss and I said, hey, I got 2 other job offers. What y'all trying to do? What y'all want to do? And within a week, I was promoted. I got another position. Now, previously, they had told me they couldn't do anything. But then when I came to them, I was like, I'm about to leave. They magically made room and did something, which is not a very great working environment, I would say. But, it happens. It happens more often than not. So make sure that you're going in there and you not only have, leverage, but you also have your portfolio to your current supervisor, and you're telling them why you deserve that promotion, why you deserve that increase in pay. Because, you want to make sure that you're able to communicate your value, not only to your current employer, but to future employers as well. So, like I said, don't forget to save your accomplishments in a folder, as well as your previous performance reviews. I always, every year, ask for a copy of my performance reviews, just so I can have for my personal records. And, I can put that in my portfolio too. And it's, like I said, it comes handy when it's time to negotiate a salary or a pay increase. You can say, listen, y'all gave me 5 stars on all of these things. Why am I not making more money? Why? So you want to make sure that you have that. And these are just some testimonials from Young Black and Professional. If you go to our website, we have all of these testimonials on there. I've definitely helped a lot of people transition into different careers based off of revising their resume, doing interview prep, doing a lot of things like that. So I've been able to do that, assist over 600 professionals with their career journey since starting Young Black and Professional a little over a year ago. And then also, I wanted to just kind of briefly go over some of our online courses. So I have a lot of our 3 different online courses, and one is Recent Grad Boot Camp. That's kind of one of our most popular courses, and basically specifically for recent graduates, whether you graduated from bachelor's, grad school, master's, doctorate, whatever, it's going to go through everything that you need to revamp your resume, revamp your cover letter, complete a digital portfolio or just a regular portfolio. It's going through networking. How do you get a job from networking? What you need to put on your LinkedIn, and then also everything you need to ace the interview or to prep for that. So that is one of our courses that is on our website. Then also one of our newest courses is getting into grad schools. I've had a lot of people who I've helped with their grad school applications because that wasn't normally one of the services that Young Black Professional did, but I had a lot of people ask. I was like, why not just make a course? Because, we can have it and get to so many people. So it goes over how to select the right graduate school and the right program for you, developing the best personal statement or statement of purpose, getting amazing letters of recommendation, and of course, preparing for that grad school interview as well. So it goes over all of that. Also, it goes over some tips for taking the standardized testing. A lot of grad schools now are doing away with standardized testing, which I think is amazing and great because I stressed over the GRE. So, that's one of the things that it does go over as well. And then also our last online course is Interview Prep 101. Basically, it's teaching you everything you need. So if you have an upcoming interview, this course is definitely for you. It's going to take about estimated 90 minutes to complete, but it's teaching you how to research the job, how to answer any interview question, giving you follow-up templates, developing your actual interview cheat sheet. I'm giving you email templates, everything basically you need to know. And I'm going through the course too and answering any questions that you may have in the discussion as well. So I do that pretty frequently. So, and then all the BPM attendees, I'm giving you guys 10% off any of our online courses using the code BPM10 if you want to check them out, get a course for a friend or something like that. So yeah, and this is, a little snippet of our website. We have a lot of free resources on our website too. So definitely check those out. A lot of free downloads too for help with your resume and different things like that. Then as well as, of course, our podcast and free trainings on our website as well. And just thank you all for allowing me to present. And now I will, of course, open it up for any questions. I tried to stay under the time. I think I went over a little bit.
It's okay. Well, let's bring the screen down and let people see you and each other. And man, this was fantastic. I've got a 29-year-old daughter and a 23-year-old daughter living in LA. And so I'm taking notes and I'm telling them, you got to go to Young Black and Professional. You got to connect with Lakita, your sister from another mother that earlier. But really good, really great presentation. Guys, you have any questions for Dr. Dez?
I have a question. May I go?
Yeah.
So Dr. Dez, being that you're in the public health sector, I know you work for CDC. A lot of the junior staff that I work with, I'm currently in private sector, are interested in working for entities like CMS or CDC, which we know have that long, arduous process through USA .govs or whatever the website is called. So my question is, in a situation like that, do you have any specific advice for those who are looking to transition into the public sector, how to navigate those systems and make yourself stand out when that's such a vast application process?
Yes. So yeah, I feel like, that's a problem for a lot of people that I talk with. And I think that, we only think a lot of times we're only told like that traditional route, that USA Gov's route to get into the federal government and working with CDC. However, one of the things that people not necessarily don't do, but I don't hear talking about as much is getting contracted positions. So CDC has so many, they contract so many, positions out. And there's so many organizations that literally just hire for CDC. And a lot of times I would say, like, I've seen it happen so many times where contracted employees are turned to full-time FTE employees. So getting contracted positions, like there are so many organizations, whether it's like Cherokee Federal, Loyal Source, let's see, Veritas Management Group. Like there are so many that are out there that have these contracts with CDC and that are looking for great employees. So I would say start there. Then also looking at some of the programs that CDC has, like they have one of their programs specifically for like recent graduates, like the PHAP program. That's one I hear about a lot. Let's see, PHAP, I forget what it stands for. I think Public Health Advisory Program. But that program is geared towards recent graduates, and basically you pretty much, they bring you on and you're working 2 years for CDC. They'll place you at like maybe like be like a State Department. Sometimes they actually get placed at CDC, but you are a CDC employee. And a lot of times people get on that way. So a lot of times it's kind of networking and who you know, but there are a lot of ways to get into there that are not that traditional route, because it can be very, very hard trying to get in through USA jobs. And it's just, it doesn't necessarily need to be that hard, because like I said, a lot of times too, for what I've seen, their positions, they'll open up positions, but they'll only be open to actual federal employees. So it's just like, it's kind of hard for new people to get in there. But I definitely think looking at contracted positions are big. And a lot of times the contracted positions, they do pay well. As well. So that's not like, something to be scared about. And then some of them do offer like full benefits and things like that. Some of them may not, but I think majority of the ones I've seen, they offer full benefits. But yeah, so it's definitely a way, and it's a good way to rub elbows with the people at CDC because you're pretty much a full-time employee there. So yeah.
Thank you. That's fantastic advice about leveraging a contracted role. I didn't even think of something like that. That's very good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I particularly like the advice that you gave about folks who are watching people on Instagram living their best lives, supposedly, and,
Supposedly.
yeah, it is so true. And you're encouraging people to also engage and talk to folks and not just, stay on the phone the whole time or kind of stay themselves. Some other questions?
I don't have a question, Dr. Des. I have a comment and observation. You have so much energy. I love your drive. It's awesome. And when people meet you and even on your podcast, that must go a long way in helping to energize them and get them going, get them, started and excited about their future. I imagine you use that, right? To get them going and excited.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's just kind of naturally my personality to be like just kind of hyper a little bit sometimes. But I use it to my advantage. And I think that once I start using it, I'm talking about it in more so a positive tone. A lot of time that tone, it resonates with them. And like I've had people definitely tell me like they'll play the podcast while they're in the car, and it's literally just like they're talking to a friend, and they'll be literally talking back to the podcast. Yeah. So it's great. And I feel like a lot of times we're encouraged sometimes to hide that part of ourselves. I feel like in a professional world and in a professional setting. So I think that, I like to try not to hide it as much as possible and as much as I can, because it's a part of me. It's a part of who I am. And I feel like everybody ain't stiff. So you don't have to be stiff to get your point across, and you don't have to be boring to get your point across.
No, it's great. It's great. And we need that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that you're walking in your talent and your gifts, so, clear about your why and your purpose, and you're walking in it, and it shows. Now, in fact, there's a saying in the Bible that says that your talents will make your way before kings and queens. So get ready and learn how to curtsy, and their red carpet is waiting on you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, great presentation.
Really is. We want to talk about, we're going to keep the party going, and I'm going to get hopefully Dr. Des, doing something on the ICABA World community. And, one of the things that is a major priority for me, Des, is that there are a lot of opportunities to connect, those who've already made it to those who are on their way. I like to call them the accomplished and the aspirations. And so one of the things we're doing with our Global 100 program involves doing just that. And I'm gonna talk about that a little bit more with you one-on-one and see if there may be something I think that you may find to be of interest. I suspect that you might like it. It's built to where I would think that you will, based on everything I've heard you say today. Well, you know what? I'll just tell you guys real quickly, because other people kind of wonder, what's he talking about? So October 30th, we're going to have a Meet the Global 100, where we are going to announce and honor 100 of the world's leading Black professionals. And so there'll be 100 of them, 75 of them will be senior leaders, 25 will be emerging leaders. And so following, and as we talk about how this platform is going to go from being the party during October, and then after October, then the after party is, we're going to be with ICABA and MBK brand management and so on. We're going to keep it going. And the way we keep it going is through the Global 100. Well, one of the ways will be through the Global 100 program. So it's going to be a leadership program where the 75 and 25, 75 seniors, 25 emerging, will be matched together in groups of 4. There will be 3 senior leaders matched with 1 emerging leader. Those senior leaders are going to coach and champion that emerging leader for 12 months. So building a relationship, not mentor, a coaching relationship, you know, and so taking a more active, if you will, role than just being a mentor. But in addition to that, every month there will be a different program. And so Dr. Dennis Kimbrough is working with us on the program and helping to lead that. And we're going to every month have a different program, but we're leveraging the fact that we can bring together a lot of different Black professionals who've already made it, who are on their way, and in everything in between, to share things. Like yesterday, I was talking with James Fripp, who is the head of global inclusion and equity for Yum Brands, and he's going to be speaking at our D&I conference on October 30th as well. And we just talked about the fact how important it is that we need to be able to create trusted environments where we can share what's going on, things that we're learning, things that we don't know, things we're trying to figure out, how to do this, how to do that. And the things that, you know, I'll just put it this way, that the white boys and the white girls do, we can't do things the same way they do them, okay? I mean, we just can't. I mean, we talked about the fact that people talking about like Black men being angry, you know, and a perfect example was Obama couldn't get angry for 8 years, okay? And Donald Trump got angry 8 times a day, okay, when he was president, okay? And there was no way, I mean, Obama couldn't have lasted a day pulling off the stuff that Trump would do, you know, and that's just the reality. And it's no different in corporate America. There are things that we can't do that they do. You know, we cannot just run the game the same way they do, but there are ways for us to succeed. So that's one of the things we're talking about. So that's what I was sharing with you. So now I put it out there, and we'll talk about it later. But yeah, we're running a little over time, so it's 1:49. Anybody else have more questions? I'm going to throw it back to you, Des, for the closing comments, and we'll wrap up, and we'll see everybody later today. We've got Dr. Dennis Kimbrough coming up later today. We've also got Keith Miles. So this is an Atlanta day. We didn't plan it that way, but we've got Keith Miles, a state planning attorney from Atlanta, and Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, Clark Atlanta University, coming up later today. Des, to you.
All right. Well, no, just thank you. Thank you all for attending, for listening. Definitely share, you know, Young Black and Professional with any young Black professionals that you may see. It's a lot of like free trainings, free resources on our site. And the #1 goal is to basically help young Black professionals succeed and get to that next level of where they want to be. So definitely share it. And of course, like, let me know if you all have any questions. I'm always available to talk.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you. And that's it. That's the last word. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Right. Have a blessed day, everybody.
Bye.